Okay, picking up right where we left off last time. We need to remove this intersection here from here to there. I want to get this completely removed from the tractor and up on the bench. It's going to be a little bit of a logistic challenge to get that done, but before I can even attempt to do that, I have to remove some stuff. We have to remove the clutch pedal, both of the brake pedals, a couple of hydraulic lines, and we'll go from there. All right, fast forward about an hour and a half. I've been working hard on this thing. I've got everything, I believe, disconnected from this torque tube center section here. So right now, the only thing holding this thing to the front section of the tractor is 6 3/4 bolts, just like they were on this section. I've also got the rear section pushed back a little bit, so we're almost clear of the hole here with the shaft. But you can see we reached the end of the travel on my alignment rods here, and that is an issue because the clutch shaft inside here is actually quite long. I think it goes like from the seam right there to somewhere up in there. So I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 inches long. Just a guess, of course, but whatever it is, you know, we're not even close to being able to detach this thing and pull it back and get that shaft out of the bell housing, if you will. Unfortunately, this entire rear section of the tractor has to come completely off and get pushed away, so this thing can come off backwards and down. I did kind of see that coming, but I thought we were going to have a little bit more room here. So now I have to come up with a method to detach the rear section of the tractor and get it propped up somehow completely out of the way. Oh boy, there we go. Yeah, I think it needs to go another 6 inches yet. There, that should be enough room. Well, the rear of the tractor is completely detached and supported on that stump. She ain't going anywhere. I left the alignment rods in there so we can use them when we put it back together. And you can see how big of a gap we have now. I don't know what that is. A couple feet, I think. The front half of the tractor is very secure. I'm very happy with that. Those steel beams really came in handy. This has been some pretty hard work today, and I'm pretty tired. I've been doing all this by myself. So I'm going to call it a day. And I'm going to come out fresh in the morning with a clear head and a rested body. And I'm finally going to get this off the tractor and on the bench. I just haven't figured out yet how I'm going to support it with a lift, straps, or chains. Welcome back and good morning. I've got 2 tow straps, one in the front and one in the rear. And I've got them tied together with some high-strength rope. I've also got it supported a little bit with a floor jack underneath it, and I think that's going to be good enough to get this done. So I'm going to get these 6 bolts removed. There's 3 on each side. Fingers crossed this is all going to work, but I'll bring you right back when I get those bolts removed. Well, if you see right there, I can't get that bolt out because the hydraulic pump housing is in the way. I didn't expect that. I thought everything was going to be free and clear. So I have to undo all this stuff and remove the pump and then pick up from there. Well, I lost about an hour with that issue, but I have the hydraulic pump detached from the torque tube. There's 2 nuts on top, 2 long bolts kind of in the middle, and then there's 1 nut and stud on the bottom. So 5 total, 9/16. They really weren't that bad. So now I've just got the thing sitting on the studs there, and we'll get it all the way off when we get the whole thing removed. I've got everything restrapped and retied, and I've got those 2 bolts down there left to go, and then we should be ready to separate this thing. All right, here goes the last bolt. I think I broke my wrench. Wow, this thing's fighting me. Yep, the ratchet end broke. All right, all 6 bolts are out, and I have no sign of separation yet. I think if I just apply a little force to this thing, it might crack loose. All right, you can see that's how much separation I have now. I'm able to wiggle it a little bit just using my hand here. I think it needs to come up a little bit now, and then we should be able to pull it back. We can finally see the bearing on this clutch shaft. And like I say, it's pretty long. I think it extends into here quite a ways because it has to engage that clutch mechanism. Oh, it's free. It's free of the engine clutch now. I can spin the shaft. I don't want to stick my fingers up in there, but just looking, it looks like we still have several more inches yet to go on the shaft before we can lower it. Okay. All right, we got about that much more. But the lift doesn't want to go back anymore. So how are we going to do this? Lift it up, maybe I can push the front down and push it out that way. Yep. Yep. Now I think if I push down on the front, like I was doing, we can carefully lower it so it doesn't scrape on the way down and get it clear of the tractor. I got it. She is free and clear. Okay. All right, so I've got it down and it's resting partially on the floor jack right now. So now I need to untie my lift assembly here, and should be able to pull the floor jack out from underneath it. Well, the floor jack idea was a bust. The tractor frame rails were in the way, and so were my upright supports. The lift was getting hung up on those, and so I moved the lift to the other side of the tractor on the outside of the frame rail, and I've got it reconnected so we can just push the floor jack out of the way. Wow. I hope I never have to do this job again. So I'm going to use the front loader to take this over to the shop, and then I'm going to come back over here and clean up all the oil and my tools and everything, and then we'll get a close look at this thing and talk about what parts we might need. Well, I've got all my mess cleaned up back here. Got all the oil off the concrete and everything else. We got a lot of creatures around here, so I got the holes all taped up there so nothing gets in there. Got a towel on the back end where the input shaft is. But everything is going pretty well so far, so fingers crossed. So now let's go check out that center section in the shop real quick. All right, here's the beast. Can't believe it's actually in the shop. That was a lot of work. This is the hydraulic pump right here. This is the cover here for the hand clutch mechanism, and that's what we need to get into first. Have to remove that mechanism, and I think the shaft might just come on out at that point, but there might be a snap ring in there that I'm forgetting. I don't know. Well, I was actually going to end this video here because we've got a big trip coming up, and I got a lot of preparation things that I need to get done before the trip, but my curiosity is killing me. I got to get this shaft out of here and see what seals I need and just verify where the seals are. This shouldn't take me too long, so let's go ahead and get this done. That way maybe I can have the parts ordered and here before we get back from the trip. Well, there's still some oil down in there, but it's good enough to start working on it. I can get the rest out later. I want to pull the hydraulic pump off first, and then we'll take the clutch assembly out. So this is the shape of the gasket that we'll need for the hydraulic pump. And you can see those cam lobes in there. They look to be in good condition. They make contact with these rollers here on the pump and actuate the valves. All right, if you see that, I think it's a nut, yeah. There's 4 big nuts in here. As I spin it around, you can see them. And they've got little metal washer tabs bent up. So I need to bend the washers down and remove all 4 of those nuts. And I think this whole assembly should come out. Well, the last guy boogered up these washers, so I'll see if I can replace those too, if that's possible. I'm gonna try to jam a piece of wood in here on the top so we can get these loose. Well, I'll go ahead and get these removed and then I'll bring it right back. All right, I've got all those nuts removed. And regarding those lock washers, instead of 4 of them, there were only 2 of them. You can see how they went. Well, it wants to come out. Let's see what's holding it up here. Well, I had to remove this collar on the right end over here, and I think it should come out now. There we go. We're going to leave all this intact because it all works. If you look down inside here, you can see there's multiple clutch discs. All right, if we take a quick look down inside here, I got the rest of the oil out and just dried it out a little bit. It's actually somewhat clean in here. I was surprised. This is the shaft that engages the hand clutch. I'm not sure if there's a seal on both ends of the shaft in the housing, but I know there's at least one. So we'll research that as well and remove this and get those replaced also. Now, if you look over here, this is the clutch shaft. And then back down in there is where it meshes with the lower gear that ultimately drives the PTO. But we're not going to mess with that. Hopefully we can just get the shaft out and leave all the PTO components in place because nothing's wrong with it. There is a snap ring here on the end, so I need to remove that, and then we need to pull this plate off and slide the shaft out. That wasn't so bad. I've had this bent screwdriver for like 20 years. I don't remember what I was working on, but I needed to bend a screwdriver for some reason. And I've kept it around the shop, and I only use this thing like once every, 5 years or something. But it ended up being a perfect tool for this. I got underneath the snap ring with this little one, pried it up with this one, and went around like that. It was like it was made for it. The size of the head fit perfectly in between the teeth and everything. So once in a while you get lucky. Okay, now hopefully this plate will come off. Oh yeah, it's the plate and the gear, that's one piece. Yeah, okay. Well, that was pretty easy. So far, everything looks in pretty good condition in here. There's no shrapnel, there's no silver stuff, there's no junk. So there's the ball bearing. If you've lost track of kind of where we are, this is the transmission side, where the hand clutch mechanism was. And there's a wall right there. And then over here is the hydraulic side. So what we need to do now is get the shaft out of the whole housing and then go from there. It might have to be forced out. Okay, I've got the shaft out of the housing. Now I'm looking towards the seals between the hydraulic side and the transmission side, and there are in fact two of them, and they are what I would call back to back. All right, I've got both of the oil seals out, and I also removed the bearing. And the oil seals are National brand number 50078, and the bearing is New Departure brand 1207, made in USA. I got the dimensions on them too, so I will hopefully know exactly which parts to order. I've got the hydraulic chamber cleaned out a little bit. Here's the shaft again. This is the side that goes into the engine clutch, and this is the bearing that sits in this opening right here. So these two oil seals here go right there, and then the bearing goes right there. And I'm a little bit confused because there doesn't appear to be any type of a seal on this side between the hydraulic side and the engine clutch side. Well, I think I finally have my brain wrapped around this whole situation here. So I know for sure that these two seals go right in there next to that bearing. They separate the hydraulic side from the transmission side. I've got that part figured out. This side between the hydraulic chamber and the engine clutch side was confusing me because I thought there was supposed to be a seal over here somewhere. I thought there had to be some type of barrier to prevent oil from coming from the hydraulic side to the engine clutch side, but there is not. And the reason is there's a small chamber on the engine clutch side that actually shares the oil with the hydraulic side in this housing. So the small chamber on the engine clutch side, the reason it shares oil with the hydraulic side here is to lubricate the drive gear for the belt pulley. So it's a relatively small chamber over here. And then the majority of the bell housing in front of that is dry, or should be dry. So there's not supposed to be any kind of a seal in here. The seal that actually separates what we now know as the greater hydraulic chamber, or chambers plural, those are separated right there. So from here front towards the engine clutch, this is all dry up here. And you can see where that seal rides on the shaft. So the seal that we need to replace is actually still in the tractor. So let's go take a look. All right, here we are over on the tractor. So you can see through this hole, there's a wall right there, and then there's a passageway that goes down over there. And that's where the belt pulley is, or would be. I don't have it on this tractor. So that confirms all that. Now, if you look back at that wall and that hole, it's difficult to see, but there is a seal inset in a groove inside that wall. The wall is kind of thick and there's a seal that fits inside there. I can feel the rubber lip at the tip of my finger, but I don't know if you can tell, it's pretty flat. But it's not really doing the thing anymore. It's allowing hydraulic oil to get up where the clutch is, and that area should be dry up there. And that's why it was leaking from this inspection plate down here. So I think I've got this all figured out now, which is really good. Gives me a little bit more peace of mind with this thing, that we're on the right track and we know what needs to happen. I think the only trick now is going to be getting that seal out, but I think I'll be able to get it with some type of a pick tool, you know. I should be able to pick it out of there. Anyway, I've got this whole mystery solved finally. Having figured all this out, I feel so much better about this project because I know now I have a pathway to success. I know exactly what's wrong, I know exactly what we need, and I know how to fix it. So I'll try to get all these parts ordered up. That way, when we get home from vacation in a few weeks, the parts will be sitting here waiting for me, and I can proceed with reassembly. So the good news about this project so far is that everything is looking good. It doesn't look like I'm going to have to replace a lot of parts. Everything looks to be in pretty good condition overall, including the shaft, including the surfaces where the bearings go and the seals go. Everything looks pretty good. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the support as always. So I will say so long, and hope to see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.